Hello, I'm Nobby. Welcome to my workshop. We're back on the Ellie steam tram project, and the next job, with two parts to make, will be the final bits for the boiler itself. These parts will all be made from bronze, and the two parts I need to make are the locking nuts for the boiler stay, that they would go on each end of the stay, which runs through the centre of the boiler, and the other parts are the boiler bushes. There'll be three of those. The boiler bushes, I'm going to make all of those individually so that they're good fits on all the various holes on the top of the boiler and on the one of the end caps. What I wanted to do, because this is all going to be done on the lathe, is use my ER32 collet chuck, but unfortunately I haven't got a collet that will take this material. I have got a 1/2 inch collet, but this material with a bit of bronze I ordered as 1/2 inch, but in fact it is a good bit over 1/2 inch in diameter. I measured it, it's 0.5165, so it actually won't go into the collet. These collets seem to be, whatever the size is, they seem to be that size and the size below, so I can't use that. So I'm going to use my 4-jaw chuck on the lathe, which hopefully should hold this nice and true. So the rest of this will be done on the lathe, and I'll try and position a camera over the lathe so you can actually see what I'm doing. And when the stays should be the easiest part, because basically all it requires is bringing the bar down to the right diameter for the length that I need, and drilling and tapping a 1/4 hole through the centre, which is also the same thread that the boiler bushes need as well, and then just parting off 4 pieces 3mm wide, so that should be quite a simple operation. But having said that, don't count your chickens. Anyway, I'll bring you over to the lathe in a second, and we'll see how we get on with making these little parts. Well, we're set up in the lathe. I've got the material mounted in my 4-jaw chuck. I've already faced the end off, no need to film that part. So what I'm going to do first is drill and tap the 1/4 thread first, and then I can bring this down to size, clean up the end, and put just a very light chamfer on the outside. So each one of the nuts, I'll have a sort of a chamfer on one side and just basically a flat surface, or perhaps with a slight chamfer on the other side. So we'll bring in the centre drill first. Switch over for a tapping drill. I've sort of tried to calculate what sort of length I need here to make all 4 of the locking nuts, which are 3mm wide, and allowing for the thickness of the parting off tool as well, with a bit to spare. And I'm going to sort of drill in about 20mm. That should give it a little bit of leeway anyway, but as I mentioned, that the thread in the centre here is going to be exactly the same as the thread in the boiler bushes as well, so if you sort of overshoot the depth, that won't really matter. And I've decided to, when I machine this down to diameter, the locking nuts on the plans says 12mm wide, the bush is 12.5mm wide, so I can't really see any reason why they can't all be the same size, so I'm just going to stick for one size on everything, just to make life easier basically. So we'll bring in the drill, and I'm using my tailstock DRO on this, so once I touch off, I can zero the DRO and give me the sort of the basic depth that I need. Oh. So I've not got the drill in there tight enough. Bear with me. That's not the taper spinning, it is actually the drill that's spun round. I'll get this in a bit tighter. Hopefully that will do it. I can actually bring that into. I'll bring that into near to 0 again. I should be okay. Right. 0 was there. Okay. So hope that doesn't do that again. Get that on as tight as I can. Right. Right, that's it. We're into the 20mm depth now, so I'll get everything set up to tap the thread in here now. I'm going to try first and see whether I can turn the chuck by hand. If not, then I'll have to stop and put the headstock handle in. But we'll see how we get on. If it turns out to be this is going to be too hard going, I'll switch round. So far it seems okay. I'm going in first with a tapered tap, and then I can go in with a bottoming in tap to take the thread in a bit further. But when I start sort of parting these off, obviously I can assess how near I am when I've cut, say, 3 off, how close I am to the end, and whether I need to take the hole and the threads in any further. I think what I'll do is I'll run that out and make sure it's clear of all the chips first, I think. Here the taps are sort of packed up pretty well, so I think we'll clean that up a bit first. And the thread in there looks nice, so hopefully that's going to be okay. Just clean up the tap a bit. Let's bring this in again. Pick the thread up. Right, okay. It's going to take a while, so I'll bring you back on this. I've switched over to a bottoming tap. Just take this in just a bit further, just give me a bit more thread, but obviously as I'm parting these bits off I can monitor the depth of the thread in case I need to do a bit more. Right, I think we're engaged on the part that's not tapped yet. Take this very, very gently. Resistance there, so let's not going to risk any more. Okay. Right, we can get set up for the next operation now. We'll just try the stay into that and see how it goes, where it takes the thread okay. It's not a very tight fit, but I don't think that's that. As long as it's going to hold it, I don't think it's going to matter, because I think these locking nuts primarily are just to hold the end caps on the stay at the right length inside the boiler tube, so I don't think that will matter. That's a little bit on the loose side, but there we go. That's what we've got. Right, so we'll move on to the next job now. Right, so I'm going to bring this section down to diameter. I'm going to work in imperial because the lathe is imperial, and the micrometer dial on the cross slide is imperial as well, so that's going to be easier for me. I've measured this up, and I reckon I need about 22 thousandths to come off, so actually 11 each side. So we'll go for that and see how we get on with it. Need to angle the the lathe tool slightly. That's better. More. It's going to need a bit more to clean that up. Let's see how we are looking. Going to change cutters. This one's not. Well, the bronze didn't seem to like that high-speed steel tool at all, so I've changed over to a carbide insert tool, and I put a brand new tip in. So I've made one cut already. So just make a more accurate measurement. So we are at 9.9, so we've got about 7,000. So it's only about 3 thousandths each side to come off. You know, bear in mind this is purely a locking nut. The important thing, obviously, is the thread. The outside diameter is not that critical, I don't think, and in fact, as I'm making this slightly larger anyway, I don't really think that's going to hurt anything at all. So I'll just take another 3 thousandths off and hope that sort of cleans it all up nicely. So let's see how we get on with this. That's worked much better. That's a nice finish there. So what I can do now is I can clean the end up, which will clean up the burr around the thread and on the edge here, and I'll put a little chamfer on here as well. I'll just angle the cut around a bit. Yeah, that's cleaned it up nicely, so I can get set up now. I'll put a little chamfer on there, and then I can get set up to part these four little nuts off. Let's just get the chamfering tool on. Right, okay, I'll bring you back for the parting off. Well, we're set up for parting off. I've got this set 3mm, so I'll start the lathe up and I shall drop the speed right down. Be sort of a roundabout right. Carriage locked, and let's see how we get on with this. Before we go any further, I'll just very gently break that rear edge there. And carry on. Oop, bit too much. Easy does it. That's the first one. Just got to get that burr off the back of that, but that might be a bit warm. So there we are, that's the first one. So I've got another 3 to do, but I'll do those off camera. There's no point in you sticking around to see me do that, because it's the same operation all over again. But I'll bring you back when I've done them, just so you can see how they've turned out. Well, that's the 4 little locking nuts completed. I've measured the thickness of them, and they're all within 2 or 3 thousandths of each other, which is fine. It's not really important, really. They're only basically little locking nuts. So they're all threaded 1/4 40. As I've got a burr on the back, I've removed the burr rather, and I've rubbed these across a piece of emery paper just to make sure the backs of these are perfectly flat. So what happens with these basically is that they'll go each side of the end cap. So make sure I'm in frame. So one would go on here like this, the end cap goes on. Let's put that down a little bit more. And one goes on the outside to lock that in place. And obviously there'll be an end cap at each end. And what you'll be able to do is adjust these to give the correct distance between the ends of the two end caps in relation to the boiler tube. So I'm hoping what will happen is that once that's been set, because the outside of the end caps are seated 1 millimetre below this surface here, so we'll be able to sort of measure the length of the boiler accurately, and then set these accurately with these set accurately in place. And of course these will be silver soldered on as well, so that I'm hoping that once that's done you'll be able to sort of pass both end caps through the boiler and just adjust it so that that is about 1 millimetre below the surface. So that's that little bit completed. It did say, I think when I read the instructions in the book, that when you make these, it said not on the sort of like the inside surface of these, not to bother about cleaning them up too much, because that I think they said that will give you a slightly better surface for the silver solder. So I guess where I've roughed these up a little bit with the emery paper, that may hopefully do the same job. So that's that little job completed. So the next bit, I'm going to attempt to make the 3 boiler bushings next. Pop these, I've undone that one, pop these on here so that I can keep all these bits together. I did contemplate making a spare one of those just in case I lose one, but I mean, if I'm just careful, I'll be okay. So they will, although the inner one's got a nice chamfer on it, you're never going to see that, but you will see perhaps a little bit of that on the outside, just to make it look a little bit neat and take off the sharp edge of that as well. So that's that little bit done. So next stage, I'll show you the boiler bushes being made. Well, the next job is to make the 3 boiler bushes. These again being made from the same piece of bronze that we made the stay locking nuts out of. The boiler bushes of these. It is actually a very simple turning job, and in fact I've already faced off the material and threaded it 1/4-40. You saw me do that with the stay nut, so no point in showing you that again. I've brought the diameter down on the outside already down to the same diameter as the stay bushes, 12.5 millimetres. And what I've got to do now is face part of this back 5.5 millimetres down to a diameter which I've calculated as being 0.4 thousandths roughly, but I'm going to sort of turn it down near to that diameter and then test fit it to the boiler itself, because when I've tried measuring the holes that I've already drilled in the boiler, and I'm guessing that there could be just slight differences in the diameters here. So what I'm going to do is all of these 3 bushes, I'm going to test fit them exactly to the various holes in the boiler and in the end cap here, and then I'm going to mark them up so that I know which one fits properly into each of the holes. Seems to be the best thing to do. And then what I'll mark them with different colours, and then sort of tape them in place so that I've got them all matched up, ready for when the silver soldering is going to take place. So what we've got to do is measure in the depth here of just 5.5 millimeters. I'm actually going to make it about 5 to start with, and then I can face the shoulder here back to the correct depth. Although fractionally out, it's not going to make a lot of difference, but I'm going to try and make them all as accurate as I possibly could. So I've got that set to 5 millimeters, and I'll put a witness mark in here and then start turning it down to size. I'll carry on facing this down, and I'll bring you back when I'm near to the correct diameter here. Well, we're getting very, very close to the size now, so it's going to be easy does it until I get a decent fit. Oh, how about that? That's good. You don't want a tight fit or press fit, just that. I think that's lovely, because obviously you've got to allow room for the silver solder to flow round this as well, so you don't want it to be an over tight fit. So I think that'll be absolutely fine. Yeah, that's good. Right, so what I've got to do now is just bring this little shoulder finally to the correct length. As I get that to the 5.5 mil. It's just quite a bit to take off there, so we'll take a little bit off at a time. Yep, very little to go now. I think just tiniest bit more, that's what it will do us. Oops. Yeah, that's going to be fine. Right, so what we've got to just do now is just break these edges. And then part the piece off. So I'm going to chamfering tool and I think that will do it. That's lovely. Right, so I just set up now, ready for parting off. I'll bring you back on that. Okay, so we're ready to part off, and I'm using this tool again to give me the correct length here. So I've already got this set to the right overall depth, so I can just push that up against the end of the part and then just bring the edge of the parting off tool against it, then lock off, and we're ready to part the part off then. Okay, so we're on the lathe, we'll just slow it down. There we are. And away we go. Just put an Allen key in the end there just to catch the part so that it doesn't go flying across the workshop or get buried in the chip tray. There we are. Good. So that's our little part made. Obviously I've got to clean up the end of that. Well, this side is all fine. So there we are. So 3 of these to make all together, and as I mentioned, I'll make each one individually to fit each individual hole in the boiler and end cap. The final operation to do is to reverse the part in the lathe chuck, and then just face this side off and put a internal external chamfer on this as well. So we'll do this next. And it's a very, very light touch off there. And just clean up the inside part. And put a reasonable chamfer on the outside. Oh, put it on that side actually. There we go. There we are. That's it. There's one final little operation, something that I was recommended to do by David Ticehurst, who has been sort of watching me sort of start the build here, and he gave me lots of bits of advice, and he said that on the boiler bushings, that on the outside of the bushing is just to run a clearance drill just a couple of threads in, so that when any of the various parts are screwed into the top here, you will get a very good seating on here. I mean, it is possible that I may need to use sort of some form of sealing washer in between. I don't know, sort of a copper washer or whatever. I'm not absolutely sure, but I'm going to sort of take his advice. It's not going to hurt. There's plenty of thread here, so if I just clear as he said, 2 or 3 threads into the end here. So I'm going to do that on his recommendation. So stand by. Well, that hopefully is enough. That's probably gone in about 2.5, 3 threads, and what I've done is I've taken the drill into this edge here, so hopefully that will be enough. That distance certainly is not going to do any harm at all. Well, that's that job done now. I've made the other bushings off camera, so that's all 3 bushes made, and I've made, as I mentioned, make each one to individually fit each hole in case there's any small sort of variations in size. So I've been making them not too tight to fit, so that there is plenty of room for silver solder to flow around. And I've put sort of a nicer chamfer on the outside here, and as I mentioned, made this sort of if you like, look at it, undercut in here, clearance drill size on the outside as recommended by David, and thanks for that advice very much, David, if you happen to see this video. So that's the end cap done, and the 2 bushings for the boiler itself, going sort of in a bit of movement in them so that they're not too tight, and enough room again for the solder to flow through those as well. These will take other fittings like the safety valve, and also the fitting which takes the steam to the little wobbler engine which will run the train. This one will be sort of this way up, and that will form the filler cap. And what I've got to make for that is a little blanking off screw to go in here. Looking at the book, it's made out of hex bar, just a screw in, but I've not got any hex bar of the right size to do this. It's either too small or too big, so I have actually ordered up a small piece of hex bar to make the little blanking off cap for here. I guess it's probably going to need an additional blanking off cap for one of these, and a fitting to go in here so that there's something to sort of pump water under pressure into here to do a boiler test. Not quite sure how all that works, but I'm going to make a couple of blanking off caps anyway, and then sort of work out what's required for the other one, for, as I say, for the test. I think I was quite lucky with the bronze bar in sort of trying to calculate how much material I would need to make the 3 of these. So I multiplied 3 times up the height of them and allowed for the cut-off tool, and I'm very, very close. So I've not really wasted any material at all. So this can be now put away, for perhaps a future project. So there we are. I'm sort of quite happy how all this has turned out. Well, this is hopefully what it will look like when it's all assembled. So you've got the boiler brackets and the little standoffs. These will go through the floor of the engine itself, and the boiler end caps. The stay is held on with a little stay locking nuts on here, and you've got the three boiler bushes. I've not pushed the end cap right the way, and you can see it sticking out a bit, but the front face of that will be about 1 millimetre behind the edge of the boiler itself. So as far as I'm aware, I've made all the parts for the boiler now, so the next stage would be silver soldering all of this together, and finding some means of once that's done, getting it pressure tested to make sure all the joints are okay. I mean, it's not something that, it's not an engine that if I ever finish building it, that's going to be run very much, because I don't have a track at home to run it on, obviously, and I don't know of any tracks near to where I live that it could be finally tested on. Maybe I could make up sort of like a sort of a rolling road or whatever it's called to test it on, or maybe I'd find someone that would test it for me on a track. But we'll I've got to get there first, so don't worry about that just for the moment. Anyway, I'll wind the video up now, and thank you very, very much for joining me through this part of the build, the first part, possibly not including the soldering, a pretty difficult part to make, I guess, but it's been very, very interesting to make all these parts. Thanks again also to all the subscribers to my channel, all the useful advice that everyone's given me along the way, and also the advice from David Ticehurst recently as well, and I very, very much appreciated, David. It's very, very kind of you to sort of help me out here. So there we are. I'll see you very, very soon, with another part of the build, or anything else that crops up in the meantime that I can show you. So it's bye from me, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye now.